So on this video, we're going to talk about the 8-inch size lowers with fog light setup and speakers to show how this is put together. So this is really for those guys that have the fog lights. Some of it, depending on your fog light, might be a little bit different, but you get the general idea. So when you get these lowers, I generally have them completely put together for you, ready to go. In other words, you just take the bolts out and bolt this thing on. So you can see in here that you've got some plastic inserts, which are custom fitted for the bar that you have. This is going to be going on a Road Glide Special. So the inserts here are set for that. Now, a CVO will be a little bit different, as well as plastic washer insert on the inside too. So, but anyway, this is how these would actually go together. So if you have the fog lights, then when you look deep inside here at the end, there's a ring and there's 4 bolts. Okay, so this is set up for a Vision X fog light. Okay, but it's pretty much the same thing if you're going to do, say, Denali's. Okay, so same difference. So the way the fog lights mount is they mount on the inside pressed up against this. Okay, so using this Denali as an example, these Denali's have a bolt on the back side that hold the front on. Okay, and it's the same thing with the Vision X and most of the other ones that are out there as well. So what you can do is you're going to take these 4 bolts off of the back side of this fog light, and you're going to take the cap off. And when you take that off, there'll be a little rubber ring that's on there for keeping it weather tight. And then the lower then is set up with the position of these bolts to match this particular fog light. Okay, so once you take the cap off, you put it in, and then you put these 832 bolts back in place, and it'll press down against there. Now, when these are sitting on the bike, they should be straight out. All right. Now the bar is different on the CVO, the new CVOs versus the old CVOs. So those are a little bit different, a little bit of an angle, but I've got that taken care of on the inserts. But the fog light should be sitting straight out, okay? If they're not, if your bar is a little bit different than most, or if you don't want them out there, maybe you want them turned or something, then what would happen is you would change out this washer that I have on the inside. So this plastic washer that you see up inside there, you don't even need it. You can take your fog lights and push them up and press them up against that if you need a little bit more space inside here for the speakers. But what I gave you when you get these right off the bat is a flat one in place, and so you can see how it mounts, and in case you want the flat one. Now, if you need the lowers angled, then you're gonna get a couple of sets of washers, plastic washers that I make that have an angle to them. So if you look real close, this has a slight angle to it, and this one has a bigger angle to it. All right, and there'll be two sets of these, maybe 3 sets, depending on experience with these folks after the fact. And the point of the angles is for you to have a bigger angle if you want. Like this would give you like a pretty big angle, right? So you take this plastic washer out that's flat, and then you put this one on the inside, okay, as an example. And when that presses up against it, now what happens is when that light goes up against here and you turn this, it'll make the light actually either move out, up, down, whatever actual direction you want, up to the extent of the angle that you have on this washer. Okay, so that's kind of a customized feature. So once you get them set, then they're set, then you're done. You can toss the rest of them or hold on to them for another day. All right, once you have the light mounted, the wiring is going to go through the inside portion of the lower of the bike against the bike. So in other words, this is a right side lower, okay? And the way you tell is there's a hole or 2 holes on one side of the lower. And so in this particular case, this one is set up for speakers to go through one hole and the light to go through the other, so then you can go either on your bar or in your bar from there, okay? So those will mount, so the light will come through and you mount that there, you plug it on the inside, and it's actually pretty straightforward to do. Then what happens is there's some minor customization based on what type of speaker you have. Now this particular lower is being sent out to be completely set up just like my 23 CVO with Euphoria speakers in it, which are pretty deep. I'm doing the carbon fiber speakers on my bike, and they're 3.6 inches in depth. and the lights that I put in with the Vision X's, which are 3.7 inches in depth. So that's a lot of space taken up inside here. So most of the time, you know, you can get a thinner lower like the Denali's or something else, and they don't take up a lot of space, and you don't need to start coming out from the base of the bike. So when you look at these lowers, I purposely set a ridge way down inside here because I have people that want to have cabinet doors on here. Or they have a different type of speaker and I have to adjust for that. So this allows me to have one type of plastic lower going out, and then I can do some rings to customize for the actual bike if there's something that's kind of an off setup, all right? So in this case, we got to go deep, all right? So this bike comes right off the bat with all of the hardware ready to go for this thing to be installed. And these 832 screws are in here to hold up to 8 locations for bolt holes for a speaker if you wanted to press it straight in at this point in time. But I need to remove these in order to be able to make this thing come further out. So, taking these bolts out. All right. And I'm only going to need 4 of these for the next portion. So the next portion, I got 2 rings here. The first ring allows me to bring the speakers out or put on a cabinet door so that I'm pretty much flush with the side of the lower, right? Right there, nice and flush, okay? So that's gonna be like generally the bigger speakers that you're gonna install. Now, the carbon fiber ones are a little bit bigger, so I need a little bit more space, and I wanna do a nice finish to them. So this is flush, and then this brings it out another inch, half inch, or 3/4 of an inch, half 3/4 of an inch or so. So what I need to do is I'm gonna put this guy in place, okay? And so I just need 4 of these, and I need to put them at my 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock locations, because that's where my speaker is gonna end up mounting for the Euphoria, all right? So, all right, and like I said, you only need 4, because this is pretty flush anyway, but 4 is more than enough to hold this main ring in place. So if you have a speaker, you're now ready to go. You put the speaker on your cover and you put it right down through where the bolts aren't at these locations, and that's that. Now, in this case, this is set up for a Euphoria speaker, okay? Or a speaker with 4 bolt hole locations. So in this case, the Euphoria speakers take a 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock location for their bolt holes, all right? So this allows me to give this guy a bit more room because he's putting in the Vision X, which are like the biggest fog lights you could possibly get, all right? And so these little tabs that I have on here, they'll go into place, these tabs that stick out, they go into place where I just mounted the bolts for the inner giant washer, or insert to bring spacer, I guess you might want to call it. Okay, so now I need to put these guys in, and for that, I'm gonna need some 2.5 inch or 3 inch bolts that just go in 4 locations again. So, those in place here. All right, so now that all 4 of these are in, I can now put my speaker on, which would go into each of these 4 locations here, and I custom made a speaker cover for this guy too, because there weren't any for the Euphorias, and those will go on here. So my speaker drops in, I run the wire through the side, the speaker also, hook that up, and then I put this on with, in this case, we got 4 black bolts. The speaker's in, and you can see, again, this is the biggest speaker and biggest light setup you can possibly do here, okay? I mean, this is pretty deep, so that's what you're looking at, all right? And that, again, that's for a Vision X fog light and a Euphoria carbon fiber speaker. Once those go in, then you bolt this thing onto the bike. I'll show you how mine looks in a second. And then on the bottom, you've got 4 locations that are kind of custom to put in. You can either use a metal clamp to hold it down on the bike. I see these a lot. Or I found with my bike now, these nylon ones that are 1.25 inch, which I send them with you. Those then, once you sit it on the bike, then you put this guy around the bike and pick which location that you want your small 8/32 screw to go in, okay? So once it goes on the bike, then it's gonna look like mine. And as you can see, this is custom painted to match the CVO with the fog lights. And I've got mine angled out. And then this again would be the biggest speakers that you could put in here. Like you could actually go further, I guess, if you really, really wanted to. But these Euphorias sound really great. And then the mounting underneath. Okay, so you can see how that's mounted up onto the bike with the black. In my case, I got the one screw and the black nylon strap, because these actually fit flush up against the bar when they go down. Once you put them on, then you just, for mine, it worked out great on the CVOs. The regular road glide should be fine too, where you rotate it until the body of the lower touches the bar, and then you should be able to strap it down from there. Okay, but if you want to angle it around a little bit, you can, all right? Here's my shoe on this CVO Road Glide, and this shoe is a size 11, and you can see this is kind of where I normally put my foot. Some people have their foot maybe a little bit more forward, a little bit further back, but you can see the 8-inch lowers are set up so that your foot has no problems fitting inside there, and you know, having plenty of room there. Now compare that to this 2013 CVO Road King that has Harley factory lowers on it, and look at the position of my foot. It's actually not as far forward as the one on the 2023 CVO. And you can see, even without me getting it to the same position where I have the my foot on the 2023, I'm already hitting the lower itself with the nose of the shoe. This particular lower, it was pushed out because of the 8-inch speakers, and you don't have to do an 8-inch speaker. You can do a smaller speaker. I would just create an insert on the inside to size it down if you really don't want an 8-inch, or you could just turn the volume down. But you can see, looking at the bar, that it sits out further and comes out further out here, but is also lined up to match with the saddlebags in the back, so they don't stick out too far and look weird. But yet there's plenty of room for the chin lowers on here, okay? So that's a big difference from the old 6.5s. And that's it. So that's it. Hope the install goes fine. If you need any help, obviously reach out.